If you were in here yesterday, we talked about Stradlater, punching out windows, plugging Maurice, and the possessed guy in the Bible. So there's a lot of stuff, Ellie.
Nice.
So what do you think Holden fears? What's he afraid of? Change. And I think we kind of started to talk about change a little bit yesterday. Any specific change you think worry him more than others? I mean, some of us in here don't like change, me being one of them.
His childhood or like his adolescence, like he, when his brother Allie and like Phoebe, like he has them like pictured as like he has Allie always like in his mind as like being 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then like going back to the museum, like he likes the museum because it doesn't change. So it's like something that he can rely on to always be there.
Okay. So if something doesn't fit the way he visualizes it in his head and it's off in any way, that's going to throw him for a loop. Could be people, could be locations, could be ideas, whatever the case may be, but any kind of change. All right. I think that'd be good. Annie? Just because of like
Yeah, because he doesn't know and he doesn't, like it seems like he doesn't really care, but he also like doesn't have like a plan at all and he's like not really trying in school and he doesn't want to do his parents like
Okay. And I don't mean this to sound like, no, you're wrong. Do you think is he worried about the future or does he not care about the future?
Like I feel like he's worried that he's gonna have to like have a future like that he doesn't want because like he's always been like his parents.
Okay.
He doesn't really have a plan for that.
All right. And so part of it could be trying to avoid it because he doesn't want it to end up being something negative that could be happening. And this one can be a little complicated because in some ways, it definitely in ways he fears being alone, and in some ways it kind of seems like he wants to be alone. And certainly we have situations like that. Just go away. I just need time to myself. But yeah, whether him being alone with no one, whether him maybe leaving other people alone that he feels like he should be there for. This certainly, I would say, tends to be a place of confusion and maybe stress for him, where he's not sure when is the appropriate time to leave someone alone, when he needs to be alone and whatnot. Olaf and then Ellie will come over to you.
He fears confronting his parents about dropping out of another school.
And I think we could all relate to that one. Not that you've dropped out of school, but you would be kind of fearful of what the authority is going to do if there is some unhappiness taking place. So, I mean, that's the whole point of him about being in New York City. He doesn't want to go home.
I think with the fear of being alone and how it sometimes seems like he wants to be alone, I think maybe it's not so much a physical, like being physically alone, but just he's afraid of not having anyone in the world who has his back.
Okay.
Or being alone socially, I guess.
And there's, terms that'll kind of come up with solitude or being alone, like, you feel alienated, exiled, isolated. And sometimes they're interchangeable and sometimes they're certainly not. If you are alienated or exiled, if we were going, Matt, leave now, we have kicked you out, it's not that, Matt, you feel isolated, but we are removing him from society. And in some ways, you might want to kind of keep an eye on, does it seem like he's being pushed away, or does it seem like maybe he isolates himself and kind of moves back? And certainly it's going to vary with, depending on the circumstance.
And with the kind of thinking, is he being pushed away or is he choosing to leave? It could be that the fear of being pushed away is making him think, oh, I'd better leave before, I'd rather leave on my own terms before they force me.
You want me out? Fine. I'm going to walk out now on my terms, and then, yeah, kind of get out. So rather than having Darby leave, you know what? I'm out. Don't need you. Matt's going to stay no matter what, apparently. He's still here.
I think one of his biggest fears seems to be caring too much. Because that's what he calls everything phones.
One of that he cares too much? Okay.
So he just pretends not to.
So if I don't care, then it's not going to be problematic in that kind of way, Megan? Okay, makes sense. Anything else?
I feel like that kind of relates to the change thing, in that if something were to alter and he likes the way that it was originally, then he might get too attached to it and might turn it off.
And I would say, and not going that, hey, these two responses are not good with future and unknown and parents, but I think the change, the being alone, the caring too much, all of those things are certainly going to kind of overlap together. I think one of, and this is kind of changing the heart of the question, what are Holden's fears, to what is Holden's biggest problem? I think Holden is essentially in a no-win position, where no matter what he does, he is going to be dealing with some kind of major issue. For example, and kind of explain with it, I think most of us would agree that Holden, in some way, is kind of depressed or emotionally withdrawn, whatever the case may be. So he is depressed. If he is depressed, what would, from not playing clinical psychologist here at all, what should you probably do if you're depressed? What involves other people? Talk to someone. Not pursue alcohol like he does. Not smoke 12 packs of cigarettes. Not hire prostitutes and those types of things. So you talk to someone. Why can't he talk to someone? I mean, he does, but...
Normally whenever he talks to someone, they get annoyed pretty easily.
Whether he verbally criticizes them or not, but he tries to talk to someone, and it all ends up going back to this person being a phony. So since he can't get the help, what happens? He becomes depressed, and then the cycle kind of starts to repeat itself over and over and over again. So one solution to that is, well, don't end up calling people phonies all the time. And I think we kind of started to hit on this a little bit yesterday. Why would he call you or a person a phony? Like, what ends up being the qualifications to go, Anna is a phony, Bryn is a phony. Actually, Bryn calls us phonies because she's holding. That's right. Like, what do you have to do to be a phony? Because I think yesterday one of the things we mentioned was there's not a set number, but there's kind of like an age requirement. Who tends to be the phonies? Not the kids, but the adults. So if you're going to seek out help, talk to a parent, talk to a teacher, talk to a psychologist, it's going to be adult, automatically he's going to start kind of associating that you're a phony. Yesterday we mentioned the guy in the Bible that is possessed. With that passage, he mentioned who he does not like, and you folks remember very quickly, the folks he does not like in the Bible are the disciples. Do you remember why he doesn't like the disciples?
Because they're chosen, they don't actually help out Jesus at all.
And he said, like, they're okay when, after Jesus died, they were okay because they started, like, preaching and doing their thing. But when Jesus was alive, all they did was let him down. So his main criticism, and this would kind of go with phonies as well, would be they would be people who let others down. And I think this kind of might go, Megan, you said about caring too much and whatnot, might kind of go with that idea as to kind of being a phony. I think that Holden's, maybe his greatest fear is not just all, certainly these things and whatnot, and the parents is an easy one to kind of pick out in the sense that, hey, you're flunking out of school. What would happen if Holden, bless you, is a what? What would be the worst case scenario? Maddie? would Holden maybe consider himself a phony? A lot of people in here consider him a phony. He's hypocritical, complains about things. I hate the movies, but he's going to end up watching the movies and things like that. But based on his criteria, why could he be a phony? Getting close at least to it. Who could, like you said, let others down? Who are you thinking?
He wasn't exactly like fully mentally invested with it. He just
What are you talking about?
where
You might be talking about part from like later on, beyond chapter 16. Are you beyond chapter 16? Okay. Or before he leaves Pensy, they go to see movies before he heads to New York. Him and a couple buddies. And it's like when he's talking about the snowball and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, he's not really kind of into it at that point. Okay, about academics and flunking out of school. It's the foils. How'd the match go? We didn't exactly get there. Why not? I lost the stuff. You what? I lost the stuff. And then what does he buy? His hat. We didn't even talk about the hat yesterday. We got big hat conversations. And ducks. Gotta talk about ducks. Why does Bryn like ducks? We're gonna find out.
How do you say the word is named
Stradler, Warren.
So that's him done with script like essay he writes.
That's a kind of tricky one because Warren like lays into him. You wrote about a baseball mitt.
But it's like I didn't get that as much because it was meaningful and it was really descriptive.
Yeah, I mean, the essay is to write about something descriptive. I think the problem is that when Warren thinks about, and no offense to Warren, but Holden's going to refer to him as a moron. He's yearbook good looking and all that kind of stuff, but there's not a whole lot really working in his head there. To Warren, to Stradlater, it doesn't fit the criteria of just describe something, a room, a car, a shirt or whatnot. What does Holden do? He takes something that is ultra personal, Allie's baseball net with all the writings. What color ink? Remember this little things. And he goes, you wrote about a stupid mitt. Which, if you're Holden, how do you interpret that? You wrote about your stupid brother. Which, if you take it to the nth degree, you wrote about your stupid deceased brother, which then it makes perfect sense that he's going to kind of flip out. If Holden is a phony, he would be letting people down, and I would say he would be letting people down that he truly cares about. Parents could certainly fit in that category. Stradlater, we're not maybe a whole too sure about. Is there any way in which he could be letting Allie down? Since I mentioned it, I believe there is. How could he be letting Allie down? How could he be letting down a person who's no longer there physically? Annie, what do you think?
I don't know if this is right, but it's like Allie was like the better one, like he was smarter and more skilled, and but Holden was the one who got to keep living, and he's not taking advantage of his life or doing anything.
Yeah, there could certainly be survivor's guilt and all that kind of stuff that would go along. He's dead now. He got leukemia, died when we were up in Maine on July 18th, 1946. You'd have liked him. He was 2 years younger than I was, but he was about 50 times as intelligent. He was terrifically intelligent. His teachers were always writing letters to my mother, telling her what a pleasure it was having a boy like Allie in her class, and they weren't just shooting the crap. They really meant it. He was the most intelligent member in the family. Keeps on going and going and going. So you certainly get the sense that, Allie is kind of like the best, the cream of the crop, when it comes to the family, and he died. So there could certainly be some survivor's guilt that would kind of, why me? And if, okay, I'm survived, then why can't I at least try to get through school? So yeah, I think that could certainly be part of it. And not as if he's the one who survived the car crash where Allie didn't. It's leukemia, it's completely out of his hands. But yeah, why him? Why not someone else?
Since he has that image of Allie being perfect in his head, before he died, he having somebody say out to like, oh, like the stupid brother, like it kind of alters like the way that he perceives him. So
And not that Holden's going to go, "You're right, my brother really was stupid," or anything like that, but you're trying to chip away at this, you know, paramount image, paragon of this is like the perfect person. How dare you say that about him when he can't even be here to defend himself? Clearly, Allie and Holden were exceptionally tight, close. Remember the ages at the time, 1946, when Allie would have died?
13.
Allie's 11, Holden's 13. Now, we said Holden is 16/17, depending which version you go with. In his mind, how old's Allie? He's the 11-year-old. Couple of years, he's going to be 20, and then he'll be 25, and then he'll be 30, on and on and on. What's going to happen to Allie? Allie is probably always going to be 11. Can you think of any ways where Holden continues to progress in age, not just the fact that he's becoming an adult, but he continues to get older and Allie stays the same, that Holden could let Allie down? What probably happens as you age? I'm older than you, so I got a better idea, I guess, with this. You forget stuff. Or is he going to forget Allie when he's 37 like me? Probably not. But will he remember the finer details about Allie? I don't know. If you think about moments when you were 13 years old, when you were 12 years old. For some of us, they're going to be vivid. For some of us, you have a tough time remembering what happened fourth period today. And you still might go, yeah, I was somewhere in the building. I don't know. You can certainly remember things, but the details might get a little fuzzier, a little cloudier. If he stays the same age, Allie will always be a kid. And what's the term that we associate with children? The big I term. At least Holden does this. He's always going to be innocent. Aw, how cute. But what's going to happen to Holden? Becomes an adult. Not meaning he's going to get phony, but other things are going to start kind of taking place in his life, and Allie might not be remembered the same way. If Holden doesn't remember Allie, why has this now really become a problem? Who else will? And not saying that like in a selfish way. You know, not that his parents are going to forget about Allie, not that Phoebe is going to forget about Allie, but you get the sense that Holden's not aware enough, that other people could certainly be aware of him, but he's going to kind of take all this pressure and put it on himself that if I forget Allie down, my big brother DB left me behind. What if I leave him behind? What if he's the kid who I never let go on the bike to Bobby's house, you know, just like he asked to probably shortly before he died. I let him down then. Now that he's deceased, I'm going to let him down again. As I'm getting older, I'm going to become more of a phony. I'm going to incorporate all of these elements that I don't like within people, and Allie's going to be stuck behind. And then Allie is going to be, I think you were the one who said the fear, Ellie, maybe? Maybe not, I don't remember. Alone. Allie could be alone. The difficult thing for Holden, and then Catherine, we'll get to you. There's absolutely nothing he can do about it, and that's, I think, kind of like the tragic part. Again, not going therefore you must like Holden, but I think at least from a perception standpoint, he's in a really rough spot because he's dealing with circumstances that are totally beyond his control. And what do I do? But, you know, Phoebe he adores, the memory of Jane he adores, the museum he adores, everything that does not change, but the world doesn't work that way. You know, change absolutely takes place. Catherine, what do you think?
I was thinking that Holden could feel this pressure because he like holds himself responsible for his death. I don't remember exactly how Allie died. I want to say it was like.
How Allie died?
Yeah.
Leukemia.
Okay, I thought it was leukemia. But maybe like Holden just like totally put his on himself because like for some bizarre reasons, such as he didn't let Allie ride bikes with him, so Allie got leukemia.
Yeah, and I don't think he would like truly kind of put it though in that way that I gave him leukemia by him not being able to ride the bike. But certainly the idea, probably still was sick when that happened, whether he knew it or not. When this happened, we don't know exactly when it did. He only had a couple more years to live. This would have been. I deprived him of happiness. I think is probably the way that you kind of look at it, and there's still going to be extreme guilt that would go along with that. Yeah, absolutely.
You're not wanting Ali to be alone. The way he doesn't want himself to be alone, the way he feels currently when he is alone, he might not want Ali or like if Ali were to be alone, then you might feel the same way, and you might turn off heated and feel all sad and stuff. And you always thought of him to be as like a happy child and very nice and all that stuff, and you might just kind of destroy it.
And keep in mind, we're kind of playing doctor and psychologist here, which I know I'm not qualified to do. I don't know if any of you are, MEDs and PhDs for all that kind of stuff quite yet. But going with bless you. Does Holden want to be alone? Does he alienate himself? Does he exile? Kind of part of that survivor's guilt or that penance that he feels that he should have. Allie can't go anywhere. Allie can't build relationships. What then gives me the right, to maybe kind of build the relationships? And that might not be a conscious decision on his part, but certainly could be something that is working subconsciously within his brain. Is almost, like Catherine said, feeling partly responsible as a little bit of a punishment. If Allie can't grow up, if Allie can't live life to its fullest, then what gives me the right to? So I'll flunk out of school. I won't build real relationships with people. I'll try to stay young forever, while smoking cigarettes and chasing alcohol. But I won't live to my full potential. I'll just do this. And maybe then I'll get to be closer with Allie. I think when you look at it objectively, you know that that's not necessarily going to work out that way.
Is there a chance that he purposely does bad things and lies to people because he doesn't want to succeed and be nice to people because that's what Ali did and he doesn't want to replace him?
I think so. I don't think that he would make that conscious decision necessarily that this is why I'm going to do that. But and like even when Warren and Allie, we'll get to you. When Warren like badmouths the essay, I think you're badmouthing my brother. I have to take you up on that right now. I don't know if he's even still necessarily connecting all those dots. I mean, no offense to you folks, Holden's a very immature 16, 17-year-old. In a lot of situations, you are immature 16 and 17-year-olds. Maybe in some situations, I'm an immature 37-year-old. I don't know. But I don't think he has the processes to kind of put all those things together and realize it. If he realized that that was the problem, this might not necessarily be so bad. It would still be problematic, I think, but I think he would be able to kind of find a solution to it a little bit. And who knows, maybe he is, because we know he is talking to some kind of doctor, some kind of therapist about all this madman stuff that happened to me, around last Christmas. DB comes and visits, he's going to take me home. So somehow he did get to at least that place where, man, I need to share about this stuff.
And I think that another kind of the whole fear about letting others down, he might feel that while he has to, not succeed, he would also feel that maybe Allie would have wanted him to succeed, and now maybe he's letting Allie down.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's warring with himself about that.
No, I think he's warring with himself in numerous ways, and even kind of going along those lines of not letting people down. If you're an angsty whiner who can't find the good in anybody, what are you not going to do? Matt is, that kid just drives me nuts. I can't stand him. Lousy, crummy, blah, 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 all this stuff. If all I do is badmouth Matt, whether I do it to him, face to face or in my mind, I'm not going to be worried about doing what? If I don't like him, it's impossible for me to let him down. So if I dislike everyone around me, I can't let them down. And I think even in that way, it can kind of be like a little bit of a coping mechanism for him. A definite, and I would keep an eye out for this certainly throughout the rest of the book, a definite visual coping mechanism that he has. And Megan, I think you were the one who mentioned it. after the foils, they lose them on the subway. Might have been someone else who mentioned it. What's he purchase? The red hunting hat. Oops, or the red hunting hat. Keep in mind, this is like a funky looking baseball hat, kind of be a little bit more boxy, but it's going to have a bill to it. What else, though, does a red hunting hat have? Or any kind of? It has those ear flaps. So, there's these flaps on each side. You could kind of tie them together. They could go up here, or they could kind of hang down. So it's a beautiful hat, isn't it? I'm very artistic. Could have been an art teacher. I feel like drawing right now, just for the fun of it. When he wears it, what's he doing? Can't hear. You're closing people off. He mentions when he puts it on, I don't care what people think of me, or I don't care what I look like. It's his way to kind of earmuff himself from everyone. When he puts the hat on, this would be, some folks would say he's most depressed. I think you could say that people would say that he is most alone. I think maybe a better term to use at this point, when he puts the hat on, he's most vulnerable. So if the hat comes on, that's going to be your cue that, all right, something's going on with him mentally at this point, that he needs to kind of not isolate, but maybe disconnect a little bit from the world around him and try to find something within him. Hat off, he's okay. Hat on, things are getting a little dicey. And keep in mind, you're only looking at him over a 3-day span. So if the hat comes on, 4 or 5 times, that's a fair number of times within those 3 days that he's not feeling so good about himself. What's going on with the ducks? We never talked about the ducks yesterday. Bryn, do you like ducks? Okay. If you said yes, I love ducks. I have pictures of them in my room. I'd get a little concerned.
I can make a duck noise.
Thank you for your contributions today. And by being quiet is a contribution.
Could the ducks be symbolic of him and the winter being kind of like this emotional depression, and whenever it comes in, he doesn't know where to go from it and how to escape it?
I think. Hello, little turtle man. I think they're definitely. Poor Sarah can hardly see the turtle. She needs a better seat. You got the best turtle seat over there. What?
Is he wearing a hat?
He is wearing a hat. I have no idea why, but his evidence. My daughter drew this, so be careful what you say. Things are tough, but never give up. The thing that I like about it is it admits that things are tough. It's not like things maybe or when things get. It's like things are tough. So deal with it is basically what Addie is saying. Not you, Addie, other Addie. And it has some Grapes of Wrath meaning, so her summer reading went well. In your Grapes of Wrath essays, fair number of you made reference to the turtle. Turtle being symbolic of migrant people, some going Jodes, some going migrant, crossing the road. The Jodes are going on Route 66. Turtle's carrying its little shell, which is like a home on its back, the same way they're piling all the possessions on the back of the car. The turtle, although not this one, has yellow toenails. Oh my goodness, Tom Joad has yellow shoes when he gets out of McAllister. Tom Joad's a turtle. What do we do? But the turtle keeps popping up. It's in chapter 3, but it's also in the narrative chapter. So we associate something, is going on with it, symbolic. A lot of you said, can the ducks be symbolic? I would say, yeah, absolutely, because they keep coming up. It's not a one-time reference, hey, where do the ducks go? But they show up a couple times in our 1 to 16 part, and then they're going to continue to show up in the second half section of the book, so to speak. So Salinger keeps going back to it. You mentioned the question that he asks is, what about the ducks? To the cabbie? I feel like you stated it. Maybe you didn't. Where do they go? And of course, the cabbie's response is, how should I know? They're probably, what do the fish do? And then this is where you started to chuckle. What happens to the fish in the pond? They get frozen in the ice. So in the wintertime, there is not a top layer of ice and water.
Please pardon the
All the
interruption.
fish are
The weight
just...
room will be closed after school today. Anyone planning to stay and live should take the regular bus home.
People are really
The
going
weight room will reopen tomorrow after school.
the iron today.
Again, the weight room will be closed today. Thank you.
And it's closed because I personally signed it out for myself for like 3 hours, so I would be...
Nice.
No noise. Fish are stuck. Why do the ducks have to go somewhere? I mean, in simplest terms, it's cold, their home is no longer habitable. So they have to find some place to go. Who does he pose the question to? Where do they go? He asks the cab driver, which I think it's awesome that he asks the cabbie. Because what do cab drivers do? They take you places. So if you're not sure where they would go, why not ask someone who would maybe know? Are you going to make a cab driver noise? Like, beep beep.
I was gonna say.
I think that with him asking the cab driver and the cab driver being like, "What? I don't know. Why do you think I know?" is kind of symbolic of you can't expect people to know how to solve your problems. If we're going to go with Ola's analogy about the ducks being like his depression and not knowing where to go from there, you can't just ask someone and expect them to have the answers because a lot of the time they won't.
Okay, you got to kind of figure it out on your own.
I remember this. I was gonna say that, like, before, when the cab driver asked him where he wanted to go, his response was asking about the ducks, because he wasn't sure where to go, since he was trying to
The fish. The duck's home is no longer habitable. Holden can't go to school. Holden can't go home. Mom and Dad are going to be bad. Holden basically does not have, at this time and place, a home. In this place that is no longer habitable, you have this fish that are stuck. They cannot go anywhere, and these ducks don't know where they're supposed to go. You go back again to the issues that we're coming up with. You have Allie, who is stuck, and you have Holden, and a lot of people go, he kind of looks like a duck when he puts his hat on. If you take a look at the pronoun, not so much asking the cab driver where do they go, but kind of asking him the cab driver does ask, where do you want to go? Hey, where am I supposed to go? So certainly, yeah, in some ways, Holden is kind of a bit of a quack quack duck, where I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't have a place that I can depend upon. I don't have anyone who I can depend upon. What in the world should I do with my life? And the couple times that he does try to reach out to someone, I would say you could go the cabbie he's kind of reaching out to, straddled her a little bit with the mitt, with the composition, and then also with Sonny, hey, can we just talk? When he does attempt to maybe communicate, nobody really wants to listen to him.
First tells him in school, hotel. It's like him being indecisive about what he wants.
Well, and him even go, hey, do you want to get a drink with me? Like, can we bond a little bit, just you and me? No, can't do it, Mac. Sorry. All right, I guess I'm on my own here.
I think with the duck's home is no longer inhabitable, could also correlate with William's mind being, like, his mental place being unstable enough that it's not exactly a safe place to be anymore.
Yeah.
And something needs to change about it for his well-being.
And now it's basically figuring out how do I go about that change. But certainly, I don't think, again, it's a shocker that, okay, Allie's death is the cause or the impetus of a lot of this, but I think the way that the fears that he has about Allie not being able to change, his growth, his maturity, quote-unquote maturity, is inevitable. that guilt that is following him along, I think at least kind of gives you maybe a better idea as to the perspective that he's coming with. So moving forward, hey, if there's a duck reference, pay attention. There will be. The red hunting hat reference, certainly pay attention to. And conversations, like, not bonding experiences certainly, but conversations that he has with actual people where he opens up are paramount because it does not happen all that often. So pay attention to those things as you go through second half. We'll do multiple choice questions tomorrow, Thursday for it, but next week we'll